How much has passed through your hands? The question arrives like a drumbeat in the quiet hours. From that first paycheck at 14, folded carefully into your pocket, heavy with possibility, to the latest deposit that blinked across your screen, barely noticed. How much have you earned? And more importantly, how much remains? Antoine Walker once commanded $108 million from salaries in the NBA. Cars lined up like soldiers awaiting orders. Houses stacked like trophies on a shelf. An entourage that never seemed to end. Yet by 2010, he stood in bankruptcy court, $12 million in debt, stripped of everything that once defined him. Money had whispered promises. It laughed as it left. So I ask again, how much has passed through your hands, and what do you have to show for it? If the answer unsettles you, perhaps the money game has been playing you all along. But before we explore mastery, we must understand origins. How did this invisible force come to rule our world? The birth of money, from shells to sovereignty. In the beginning, there was barter, a sack of grain for a goat, salt for woven cloth, simple exchanges between neighbours who knew each other's names. Then came coins, stamped with the faces of kings, symbols not just of trade, but of trust, authority, and dominion. Rome's denarii funded legions that conquered continents. Britain's pound sterling financed an empire where the sun never set. America's dollar became the reserve currency of the modern world. Empires rose and fell on their currencies. Money was no longer merely a tool for exchange. It was power itself. Money became the invisible thread binding human society together. It is the medium through which we meet our needs, exchange goods, compensate labour, and measure value. In a world with billions of daily transactions, modern life would collapse without it. But money was not always here. Its story begins in a world of direct exchange, where goods traded hands without intermediary. Grain for cattle, cloth for metal tools, labour for shelter. Yet barter was clumsy, requiring what economists call the double coincidence of wants. You needed someone who had what you wanted, and wanted what you had. Without that perfect match, trade stalled. To overcome this friction, societies adopted objects of widely recognised value: livestock, precious metals, shells, even massive stones. Gold and silver emerged as favourites, rare enough to be valuable, durable enough to last, divisible enough to facilitate trade of any size. The Lydians of ancient Anatolia were first to mint standardised coins from these metals around 600 BCE, revolutionising commerce. No longer did merchants need to weigh and verify metal purity with each transaction. The king's stamp guaranteed value. As trade networks expanded across continents, carrying bags of coins became impractical. By the 17th century, Western nations introduced paper money, banknotes that were lighter, more efficient, and easier to produce in quantity. This innovation marked a profound shift. Money was no longer just metal with intrinsic value, but a promise backed by institutions. In the modern era, central banks became the guardians of these promises. They design and print currency, embedding complex security features to prevent counterfeiting. They regulate circulation, expanding or contracting the money supply to influence economic activity. In their vaults and printing presses lies extraordinary power. For money is not merely a tool of exchange, it is a mechanism of control over entire populations. The illusion: what money really is. Money is the world's greatest magician. It dazzles with illusions, convincing us that freedom can be purchased, that happiness waits just one transaction away. It binds us quietly to debt, desire, and despair, and we praise those who accumulate it while looking down on those who lack it, as if money itself measures human worth. Economists call it money illusion, the tendency to think about money in nominal terms rather than real purchasing power. Imagine you receive a $100 raise, you feel richer, your paycheck is larger. But if inflation has risen 5% annually, that extra money doesn't increase your buying power at all. You can purchase no more than before. You're holding a balloon that looks bigger but contains only air. This illusion distorts judgment at every level. Families misjudge their budgets. Workers accept raises that represent pay cuts in real terms. Leaders make policy decisions based on numbers that hide underlying erosion. Money's value is not tangible. It's not backed by gold or silver anymore. It's a collective belief, a promise we all agree to honour. And beliefs are fragile. Long ago, rulers secretly mixed cheap metals into gold and silver coins, maintaining the illusion of value while debasing the currency. Today, most money exists only as numbers in databases, created from debt and promises of future payment. Central banks can expand the money supply with keystrokes. This system makes us dependent. We need money for survival, food, shelter, healthcare, education. Instead of producing what we need directly or trading with neighbours, we must play the money game. Some economists argue this creates artificial scarcity, where resources exist but remain inaccessible to those without purchasing power. The illusion manifests most dramatically in speculative bubbles. Bitcoin's early meteoric rise, the dot-com frenzy, Dutch tulip mania centuries before. Prices skyrocket, not because underlying value increases, but because belief intensifies. When that belief breaks, fortunes evaporate overnight. Consider the 2008 housing crisis, perhaps the most devastating modern example. Throughout the early 2000s, American home prices climbed relentlessly. Buyers believed values would rise forever. Banks fueled the frenzy, offering mortgages to anyone with a pulse. Investors gorged on mortgage-backed securities, convinced they were safe. But belief is fragile. When defaults began rippling through the system, the illusion cracked. Prices collapsed. Millions of families lost homes. Major banks failed. The shock spread globally. For most people, inflation is a cruel master demanding endless pursuit. Earn more, spend more, yet never catch up. But for the wealthy 1%, money bends differently. Their assets appreciate faster than inflation erodes them. What constitutes theft for the masses becomes profit for the few. Money is powerful, but it remains an illusion. It facilitates trade while hiding real value. It can bring stability or chaos. It lifts some while trapping others in debt and desire. We praise the rich and dismiss the poor, as if money measures worth. But money is only a mirror, reflecting our collective hopes and fears. It convinces us freedom can be bought. It whispers that happiness is one purchase away. And it binds us quietly to rules we never consciously agreed to follow. Money is humanity's greatest magician and our most dangerous master. Dialogue with money, the drama of modern life. I am your master, money whispers, and the world bends. It decides where you live, whether in a penthouse with sweeping views or a cramped apartment where the ceiling leaks. It decides what you eat, a carefully prepared meal of seasonal ingredients or processed food that barely nourishes. It even influences who you love, because even the strongest relationships tremble under financial strain. Money can transform friends into rivals, their smiles hiding envy when you rise. It can make family lean heavily on you, their security tied to your paycheck. It can make your partner doubt, questioning whether affection survives without stability. It lifts some to dizzying heights, crowning them with wealth and influence, while burying others in debt and quiet desperation. And no matter how fast you run, how hard you chase, money never stays. It slips through fingers like sand, leaving only echoes of its power. This is money's drama, a master that rules invisibly, shaping lives, choices, and destinies, not through love or justice, but through illusion. Yet here's the paradox. The money you earn represents the perceived value you bring to the marketplace. If you want to improve your circumstances, the path forward involves increasing the value you create, enhancing the illusion your skills and labour produce in the market. The root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil. We've all heard this phrase, whispered across generations. When we see great wealth, suspicion rises automatically. Did they get lucky? Who did they exploit? Who had to lose for them to win? Rarely do we ask the deeper question, what value was created to generate that wealth? The truth is simpler and more unsettling. Money itself is not evil. It's merely a representation of value exchanged. It's a mirror of human choices and priorities. Scammers may twist illusions, selling false promises, but that reflects their morals, not money's nature. Money, in its essence, is neutral, a tool that opens doors, broadens horizons, and multiplies options. What we choose to do with it reveals our character. But here lies the tension. If money simply represents value, what does that mean for the millions living paycheck to paycheck or drowning in debt? Understanding this definition shifts perspective but doesn't erase struggle. The real question becomes, what is your relationship with money? Money flows through our lives like a tide. It enters through production, the value we create, most often through labour. It exits through consumption, the things we buy, the services we use, the comforts we crave. A streaming subscription, a car payment, a mortgage. In this rhythm of production and consumption lies the story of our net worth. It's not just a number, it's a measure of balance. Too much consumption and wealth evaporates. Too little production and money never arrives. Consider the statistics. 78% of American workers live paycheck to paycheck, according to a Career Builder study. Even among those earning six figures, 1 in 10 spends everything they make. This isn't simply about income, it's about consumption. When even the wealthy exhaust their earnings, the problem isn't production, it's the inability to control desire, to resist the illusion that more money equals more freedom. Celebrities who earned millions yet filed for bankruptcy prove the point. Production means nothing if consumption devours it all. Money is neither evil nor good. It's value expressed in numbers, flowing through hands like water. The danger lies not in money itself, but in our relationship with it. We chase it, consume it, waste it, and when the tide recedes, we're left asking, how much of what entered your life do you still hold? How much was invested into something lasting, and how much was swallowed by consumption? The answer reveals truth, not about money, but about us. Money and social life, the sculptor at work. Money is clay, shaping every bond we hold. For most, it is humanity's most wicked master, dictating friendships, family dynamics, and romantic possibilities. For the 1%, it is the greatest servant, multiplying power and bending reality. Inflation steals silently, pride erodes relationships, and illusion blinds us all. We chase it, worship it, fear it, yet money is only a sculptor, shaping us according to choices we make and illusions we believe. When friendship fractures. When one friend becomes wealthy, the circle begins to crack. At first, the wealth seems like blessing. Dinners paid for, gifts shared, opportunities opened. But gradually, money's illusion reshapes perception. The wealthy friend begins viewing the old circle not as companions, but as anchors. Their jokes feel juvenile, their ambitions too modest, their struggles reminders of a life he believes he's transcended. Money whispers, "You no longer belong here." Suspicion grows. He begins thinking his friends lack seriousness, waste time, live without vision. The divide widens. Inflation deepens the gap. As currency devalues for the majority, their purchasing power shrinks, some even slipping toward poverty. Meanwhile, the 1% leverage money as their greatest servant, using it to ascend higher, surrounding themselves with new circles of influence. Old friends, unable to keep pace, are left behind. Pride plays its part. The wealthy friend, proud of his success, refuses to see value in those who haven't improved or adapted. He forgets that friendship builds on loyalty, not market worth. In his eyes, their value has eroded like currency under inflation. And so the circle breaks. What was once laughter and trust becomes silence and distance. Money's illusion convinces him that wealth defines seriousness, that poverty equals failure. But in truth, it's not money that changed the friends. It's the master he chose to serve. Family, the three-tiered reality. Money doesn't simply determine what families eat or where they live. It shapes how they see each other, how they relate, and how society divides them. For poor families, money casts a constant shadow. Inflation steals what little they have, shrinking wages until survival itself becomes uncertain. In social relations, poverty often breeds dependence, borrowing from relatives, leaning on neighbours, being judged by wealthier kin. Pride can make the poor resist change, refusing to adapt or improve, and their market value dwindles further. Money's illusion convinces others that poverty equals failure, so poor families face exclusion, pity, or dismissal. The middle class lives in perpetual tension. They produce value through steady work, yet inflation erodes savings, pushing them closer to the edge. Socially, they look upward with envy and downward with fear. They admire the wealthy, hoping to rise, yet distance themselves from the poor, afraid of falling. Pride can blind them too. Believing their status is secure, they fail to adapt, and money's illusion leaves them vulnerable. Their relationships are shaped by constant comparison, always measuring themselves against those above and below. For the wealthy, money is no master, it's their servant. It multiplies their power, shields them from inflation's worst effects, and secures their legacy. Socially, they command admiration, but also suspicion. Poor families see them as untouchable, middle-class families view them as aspirational. Yet pride can corrupt the rich as well. Believing wealth alone defines worth, they dismiss those with less, forgetting that money's illusion is fragile. Fortunes vanish, dynasties crumble, and admiration can turn to resentment. Money reshapes families across every class. For the poor, it's a wicked master, forcing dependence and exclusion. For the middle class, it's a fragile balance, eroded by inflation and distorted by comparison. For the rich, it's a loyal servant, amplifying pride and power. And always, money's illusion blinds them all, convincing society that wealth alone defines value, while in truth, it's only clay in the sculptor's hands, shaping relationships, trust, and destiny. Love, when romance bends under weight. Love bends under money's weight. It doesn't matter where you stand economically, whether you struggle to survive, live in modest comfort, or bask in abundance. Money reshapes romance, marriage, and trust. For most, it's humanity's most wicked master, dictating whether affection survives or collapses. For the few, it's the greatest servant, shielding them from scarcity and multiplying their choices. And always, inflation creeps in like a thief, eroding not just wealth, but the promises couples make. In marriages, money decides whether dreams are built or broken. Scarcity mentality transforms love into survival. Every expense debated, every dollar counted, tension accumulating like compound interest. Abundance mentality can breed carelessness, partners spending freely, believing wealth will never run dry. Yet both mentalities carry danger. Scarcity suffocates affection, abundance blinds it. Divorce often follows not from lack of love, but from the crushing weight of financial imbalance. When money becomes a wicked master, arguments multiply, trust erodes, affection fades. Even in abundance, pride can poison relationships, one partner refusing to adapt, clinging to old patterns, losing value in the marketplace of love. Money's illusion convinces couples that happiness can be purchased, that security alone guarantees affection. But when inflation steals silently, when pride erodes value, when consumption outweighs production, the illusion collapses. Love bends, sometimes breaks, under the weight of the master it cannot escape. Money reshapes romance, like clay in a sculptor's hands. It can strengthen bonds or tear them apart. It can build homes or destroy them. It can turn promises into debts and affection into transactions. For most, it's humanity's most wicked master. For the few, it's the greatest servant. And always, it's an illusion, dazzling, deceiving, and deciding love's fate itself. Conclusion: master or servant? From barter to coins, from paper to digital numbers flickering on screens, money has always been more than currency. It is a mirror reflecting ambition, weakness, and fate. It elevates empires, destroys families, reshapes friendships, and bends love itself. For most, money is humanity's most wicked master, demanding endless labour, eroding trust, binding lives to its invisible rules. For the 1%, it is the greatest servant, multiplying power, shielding them from inflation, bending reality to their will. Pride blinds us. Inflation steals silently. The illusion convinces us that wealth alone defines worth. But money is neither evil nor good. It is clay in the sculptor's hands, shaped by the choices we make and the illusions we believe. It can build homes or bury dreams, unite families or fracture them, strengthen bonds or poison love. The question remains, echoing like a drumbeat through your quiet moments. Do you master money, or does money master you? The answer lies not in your bank balance, but in your relationship with the invisible force that shapes modern life. And that answer, ultimately, is yours alone to give.